Earlier, I spoke to Gregory Poling of the Center for Strategic and International Studies. I began by asking him for his reaction to the size of Sunday's protests in Bangkok.
I was a bit surprised. A lot of people had hoped the air was going to come out of the protests after Prime Minister Yingluck had disbanded Parliament. That clearly didn't happen. But I wasn't shocked. I mean, this is the numbers they've been able to mobilize for the last few weeks.
Right. And at this point, what are they most angry about at this point?
I mean, they're most angry about the fact that they cannot win the elections on February 2nd that Prime Minister Yingluck has called. And the Democrat Party hasn't won an election in 2 decades now. They feel that in the democratic system, no matter what happens, they're not getting back to power at the ballot box. So they want not just her to leave office, they want to completely revamp the system to, in a sense, stack the deck.
Mm-hmm. And then we have Suthep Thakksuban. How many people are out there in support of him, or what portion?
You know, it's hard to tell. He certainly has significant support in Bangkok and southern Thailand. His numbers are in the millions. He hasn't managed to get that kind of support on the streets, but there's certainly millions supporting him. But it's still a minority of Thais. He has virtually no support in the north and northeast. Central Thailand will certainly swing for Yingluck in the upcoming elections. So this is a majority in one section of the country.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like her safety is in danger at this point? And at what point is the army going to step in?
It's hard to know if her safety is really in danger. I think the fact that she spent the majority of the last week in the north touring her hometown and visiting supporters, part of that is campaigning. Part of it is showing the international community that she still enjoys majority support. But certainly the fact that protesters have repeatedly marched on her home probably contributed to her leaving. As far as the army, they've repeatedly said they're going to stay neutral. The generals and Army Chief Prayut Chan-o-cha has said that he thinks delay of the polls might be a good idea, but the Army will support the process. Mm-hmm. And just today, we've seen reports that with the registration for candidates starting tomorrow, the Army is sending 300 troops to the stadium outside of Bangkok, where that registration will happen, to protect the process.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's saying, beyond me, you should support the process. Mm-hmm. Go and support the process on February 2nd. Why are the people not buying this?
The people who aren't buying it are the people who know that they can't win in that process. They have nothing to gain. The Democrat Party, the oldest party in Thailand, who's the biggest party of the opposition, yesterday said they will not take part. But several of the smaller parties who are not supporters of the Prime Minister have said they will. So there's a real possibility that come February 2nd, the Prime Minister, her party is reelected with a majority, possibly an even larger majority, but significant amounts of these protesters in the streets, or at least their families or other supporters who are not out in the streets, will end up voting for other parties. And that you will, even with the Democrats out, you'll still have an opposition and some voice for these people in the parliament.